Regrets, you always have regrets. I can't think of any, to be honest, to use her expression. I can't think of any. Look, I ran a great campaign. I think it was maybe the best of the three.
Former President Donald Trump speaking this morning in West Palm Beach, Florida, after casting his ballot. Trump held his final campaign rally last night in Michigan, urging supporters to vote. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris is spending all day doing radio interviews. That's what she's been doing, having mailed in her ballot before the deadline. The VP ended her last day of campaigning last night in Philadelphia. There, she didn't mention Trump by name and also asked for support in her race to win the White House.
And it is my pledge to you that if you give me a chance to fight on your behalf as president, there is nothing in the world that will stand in my way.
Now, Harris plans to hold her watch party at her alma mater, Howard University, tonight in Washington, D.C., and Trump's will be at the local convention center in West Palm Beach. More than 83 million Americans cast an early ballot in the election.
Joining us live right now, we call them the best election analysts on the air in Louisville, and they are only right here on WHAS 11. We welcome back Republican Iris Wilbur-Glick of IW Strategies, and from Denton's law firm in Louisville, Democrat David Tandy, of course, the former president of the Metro Council. Iris, I'll start with you. This decision by Judge Eric Hayner just a little while ago not to extend the polls, a wise decision, or what do you make of that? Especially, you got caught in the lines this morning when you were voting.
I did get caught. So, I was able to read sort of some of the explanation. And I mean, the fact that voters were not denied, it's not like we shut down facilities. The ruling was sort of expected, and from my perspective, and some of the conversations I've had with folks that are on the front lines, working the polls, professionals that are behind the scenes to ensure, voter integrity. And the ruling went as expected.
How long did you wait to vote today?
So it depends on which try. The first try was over an hour and a half, and then when I returned a couple hours later, I waited 10 minutes.
Okay.
So,
good for you for trying.
Iris, you were lucky that you didn't have a job where you could go back, right, to today. So, David, what do you think about this decision for those folks who went? I know somebody who was there at my polling place this morning at 7 a.m. They waited until 8:30. They couldn't get the computers going, so they had to leave and go to work. I don't know if they went back to vote or not. What are your thoughts about the decision?
I understand the ruling and the rationale for it. It is one of the things that what I have been the most proud of what we've been able to do in Kentucky is to have the early vote, so that then people can plan their vote, and you have the Thursday, the Friday, and the Saturday beforehand to try to cast your ballot, and then use Election Day really as like the emergency backup plan, if you will, to be able to vote there. So I understand it. Hopefully people were able to, if it was the computer system, be able to get essentially like a provisional ballot, be able to cast your vote, and then for them to count it, a little bit once they got the machines up. But I understand the rules.
That's a good way to look at it, as a backup.
So the decision's been made, so that means the polls close at 6.
But let me make the point, because the other point that what Judge Hayner said was, if you are in line at 6 o'clock, so let's say you tried to vote earlier today and you come back and you're in line at 6 o'clock, if you stay in line, it didn't matter if the line keeps on going until 8 o'clock tonight, your vote will be cast, your vote will be counted. So there's an opportunity still for everybody to go vote. So we encourage everybody to do that.
That's sort of turning out the story of this entire election. Will we know when the president is going to be elected even by midweek this week? Iris, back in 2020, of course, Donald Trump lost the country, but he won Kentucky big time, 62% to 36% for Joe Biden. Do you see him increasing his margin here, or do you think Kamala Harris will do better than Joe Biden?
I think some of the conversations I've had were at bare minimum, 2020 performance. Kentucky were one of the first states to report in the country. And so we'll know soon enough. But I think Trump's performance, the sort of low watermark will be that 2020. I would be interested to see how Vice President Harris performs specifically in Jefferson and Fayette. I think there's opportunities for growth there, but I think the rest of the state will be Trump country.
Go ahead, David. Go ahead.
I kind of agree with Iris to a certain extent. What I'm looking for in Kentucky is to see what the margin is going to be. When you saw the poll come out over the weekend in Iowa, where Harris went up 3 points in Iowa, and it was in large part due to women, particularly white women, changing their vote from where they were before from Trump to Harris. That's what I'm looking to see here in Kentucky. Remember, when Kentucky had on a ballot initiative for a total abortion ban, it lost in ruby red Kentucky, right? So I'm looking to see if that gets replicated in this race as well, and to see whether the margins shrink. Not saying that Harris may win Kentucky, but to see if those margins shrink, because it means something for the state House and Senate races that are down ballot.
I agree. I think the ability to sort of measure enthusiasm for Harris will be interesting for us to kind of dissect post-election.
And nationwide, you just mentioned women, right, in Kentucky, but nationwide, I happened to notice last night, just was watching HGTV, another network, not one of the majors, you know, and there were, Donald Trump had a lot of commercials, a lot of ads on that channel, which I hadn't seen before. I looked up the demographic, and it was 68% women, most of them millennials and some Gen X or Gen Z. And so is that the group that in the final push he's trying to reach?
So it depends. So that what you're going to be looking at for this particular race is, so what message worked? Trump is using a message of, I'm going to scare the bejesus out of people, particularly women, make them afraid and scared, and then vote for him because he tries to project himself as this strong, tough man, right? Conversely, Harris is saying, vote for me because I will protect your freedom to be able to choose your health care needs.
Let me have Iris wrap us up on that. We have a few minutes, seconds, if you want to.
Sure. I think obviously the women's vote were majority, so you know which way we go tonight. But also, I mean, I think disenfranchised, sort of that movement of men that didn't really show up in 16, kind of wasn't into it in 2020. Let's see if they show up tonight. I do think they'll make the difference. Okay, you both are going to be joining us 8 to 10 on our online streaming, and then live on the night team again to hopefully wrap up part of the day. We'll see how it goes.